Coming out tonight and joining us for our April 13th, 2022 business meeting. We have a lot of wonderful things happening tonight. Before we begin, I would like to ask everybody to please stand, because we are going to present the colors by the ROTC.
Forward, hot and hot, carry close. Forward, march. Forward, halt. Left, face. Reset, arm.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watch, where so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ring, the bombs bursting in, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, arm. Right, face. Forward, march. Forward, halt. Order, arm. Dismiss.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. I think that deserves a round of applause. I would like to take a moment to recognize the wonderful singers who we had joining the ROTC. Shaylee, Stacy, Alyssa, and Alicia. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. So the next part of our agenda, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Lochner. And Mr. Lochner, this is such a wonderful story. We're excited to have Mr. Nicholas Leo here with us. But please, it's all yours.
Okay, it is really my honor to introduce and just an incredible man. I've had the opportunity to speak with him twice, and it is something that the Brentwood community has to celebrate, because in our community we really do truly have a World War II hero, and he is among us here tonight. His name is Nick Leo. He has an incredible story that I've only, really just scratched the surface. I had an opportunity to speak to him last week. He was recognized along with his unit by President Biden, I believe, not too long ago, and he was awarded, along with his unit, the Congressional Gold Medal for his service in what has been nicknamed, I guess, the Ghost Army. And it was actually a unit that was kept secret was not disclosed to the public until 50 years after the conclusion of World War II in 1996, because it was obviously their missions were highly secretive. And in speaking with Nick, which first of all, his children here, 4 of his kids are here with us, and they're four out of the 5 graduated from Brentwood. Is that right? And so let's give them a round of applause too, because we have 4 out of 5 graduates. And they're all extremely successful, and Nick is so proud of them. But as I said, when I had an opportunity to speak with him, he's an incredible man. To be a part of this highly select unit, you first of all had to have over 130 IQ. So Nick, we already know then, is extremely bright. He also speaks many languages. Was it 5 altogether, Nick? 6. Oh, 6. Well, we give out, you'll be happy to know, you would have been awarded the seal of biliteracy, here in Brentwood. We actually recognize people who speak 2 languages, so to speak 6 is obviously outstanding. And what he did during the war, and I hope Nick has an opportunity to tell us some more, but he actually conducted some military operations that were designed to really confuse the Germans. Okay, and they were quite successful in their deceptions. And I'd love to hear Nick tell the story exactly how they did it, because it really is fascinating. And if you have an opportunity, there is a Netflix, I believe it's on net. Is it on Netflix? The Ghost Army, which is a documentary, which is just a terrific documentary about the Ghost Army and what this unit of just 1,100 soldiers accomplished during the war. It was really amazing. And obviously, if you have an opportunity to see it, you'll understand why they had to be highly intelligent. They had to be multilingual, because part of their job was to be in France, in Belgium, in Luxembourg, where they purposely put out disinformation to confuse the enemy. And because of that disinformation and that confusion, they estimate that they saved over 30,000 American lives, as well as probably shortened quite a few military campaigns. So really an incredible story. And right here in Brentwood, we have a hero that we were not made aware of till just recently. So I know I could speak forever. What I loved about Nick, however, was his story about his wife. He met his wife on in France, if I'm not mistaken, in France, the first day after the beginning of the Battle of the Bulge. He met the love of his life, and that was for 70, I think you were married for over 50 years, and I'm sorry, well over 50 years, 75 years, and that was a truly a beautiful love story. And obviously, out of that love story, you have 5 wonderful kids that you're quite proud of. So we are very fortunate to have Nick here this evening with us. The Board of Education, obviously, when I spoke to them about you, they were very excited. I do want to thank Mr. Campbell. Bob Campbell actually was the first one to read it in Newsday and saw that you were from Brentwood, and he approached me right away, and that's what started the process. We also have some cupcakes and a cake that I don't know if you had an opportunity. Did you have an opportunity to see it? It actually has the Ghost Army on it. That was donated by Andrea Gonzalez, who is a Pine Park teacher, and she donated that. Is Andrea? It is great to see. Thank you so much, Andrea. So, before, we also do have a clip that Michelle shared with us, Nick's daughter. Are we ready to cue that up, Candace? Just so you know, too, the whole Leo family, that they're actually we have probably hundreds of people looking at us. We now Zoom our Board of Education meetings. So there's actually more people watching than you suspect. And then they'll also watch it over the next few days, literally hundreds and hundreds of community members. Okay.
We were going to be in show business where we set up one-night stands and like ghosts disappear.
And the mission was to try to be able to take 1,000 men and put them in so that 15,000 men could move somewhere else and not be detected.
We were told we couldn't tell our wives or anybody about what we did. It was totally secret.
It's amazing the fakery that we were able to perpetrate upon the enemy.
It was a little bundle of stuff, all compressed before you opened the bundle, spread the nozzles around, and inflated it.
The artillery piece was good, but that M4 tank, that was the beauty. That was a piece of work.
Back of my half-track, I tell my children, was the biggest boombox you ever saw, but it played sounds of tanks and activity.
They had the recordings of building a pontoon bridge or any type of bridge, and you could hear them hammering away and swearing. And
We were turned loose in town. Go to the pub, order some omelets, and talk loose.
You mean we're asking for the enemy to fire on us? The answer was yes. At that point, we all came to the conclusion that this was a suicide outfit.
And a shell landed in front of us, and then the shell flew over our heads and hit the truck behind us.
People probably no more than 20, 30 feet away from me that lost limbs because of shrapnel just falling all over.
If you're in the wrong place, you can be dead. If you're in the right place, you can live to be as old as I am.
You go up against the best army there is and the best group of soldiers, and you can dupe them successfully, you pat yourself on the back.
There are German records that show that some of the deceptions were taken hook, line, and sinker. The 23rd did not win the war single-handedly, but I think it would have cost a lot more American casualties had they not been there.
You know you saved lives, you don't know how many you saved, but you know you saved them.
They estimated that we saved between 15 and 30,000 lives with our maneuvers. But you know, even if we'd only saved 15 or 30, it was worth it.
One mother or one new bride was spared the agony of putting a gold star in their front window. That's what the 23rd headquarters was all about.
Mr. Lotion, if I could add on top of everything that you said about Mr. Leo, I did have a chance to speak to Mr. Campbell, who happens to be a good friend and neighbor of Mr. Leo, and he was going on and on and on about other talents that Mr. Leo has. Apparently he is a very skilled, very talented artist and musician. And you talk about the entire package. I mean, I wish to be half the man, half as talented as you are when I grow up. So thank you so much for everything that you've done on behalf of the entire Board of Education.
Thank you.
And this community and this country. Mr. Lotion, you were going to add?
Now, we have a special presentation by the AFJROTC. They would like to present you something, Nick. Sergeant, if you want to come on up.
Walking my back to you all. Mr. Leo family, it's a privilege and honor to stand before you. Okay. I'm connected to World War II also. I was in World War II. I got to speak with Mr. Leo. 5 children. The youngest don't get everything. All right. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. Right. But I want to say, 80 years ago, you raised your hand, signed a blank check, defense agreement. This community, this board, the school district is indebted to you for the rest of our lives. In just a few months, you'll be 100 years old, right? And I joke with my cadets that, 40 years from now, hopefully I can still touch my toes. Right? People say challenge me all the time. On behalf of Junior ROTC, we'd like to, and Air Force headquarters, in recognition of the active duty service, Nicholas Leo, NY-773 Flying Falcons, present his testimony of esteemed gratitude for fulfillment and faithful performance of duty to the nation, and is hereby awarded honorary NY-773 Corps Commander on 13 April 2022, and will be presented by Cadet Colonel Sari Martinez Ramirez. There's one other thing, and it started during World War II, and the story goes, and I've been telling the cadets my entire career, and I was told when I was a young airman, it's called the challenge point. Challenge points came about, as I was told, that a U.S. Air Force or U.S. Army Air Corps pilot was shot down behind enemy lines in Germany. And the families that were out in the country weren't sure if they could trust them or not, because that the right was actually dressing up German soldiers, and the only thing he had in his boot was a silver dollar. That's why a challenge point is the size of a silver dollar. On our silver dollar, or on our coin, it says, you're only cadet for a short time, but you'll be a Falcon forever. On the back, it says, if you ever get lost, which you won't, you're too smart, you know too many languages. I can that's what I tell you, my Spanish is poquito. That it has the lac longs, if you ever have to get back to run. All right, so it's a privilege and honor to have. Thank you, Mr. Locha, Mr. Felicia, and the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just have one more recognition on behalf of the community, central administration, Mr. Lotion of the board. It reads as follows. It's a certificate of recognition presented to Mr. Nick Leo, for his courage and bravery while serving his country in the highly secretive Ghost Army of World War II, and for the Ghost Army unit being the awardee the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest distinction Congress can bestow. Mr. Leo, congratulations again. And you know what? Another standing ovation for this wonderful, wonderful man.
Say a few words.
Can we take the microphone to him?
All right.
Can we close up on the camera, please?
I'm overwhelmed. I'm at a loss for words. But I want to extend my deepest gratitude to all of you people who invited me tonight. I guess I should tell you, I went into the Army at 19 years old. And I was sent to Oregon with the 104th Timberwolf Infantry Division. And this was in Corvallis, the next town was Corvallis, Oregon. And they taught me Morse code, which is, I still remember, I'll never forget it. I know it backwards. They sent me to Fort Benning, Georgia for communication school. I broke the record for speed there. They made me a buck sergeant. They sent me back after the school to Oregon. They made me a staff sergeant. They put me in charge of radio, message center, and wire section. And after a while, they came around saying, we need volunteers for a special mission. But they didn't tell you what the mission was. So they said you can't just volunteer, you have to have the qualifications. So the qualifications were, you had to know radio, message center, wire section. I was communication chief. They said you had to know music. I was a professional accordion player, plus other instruments. I played 5 instruments. You had to know art, painting. I studied that. I was an artist. I worked as an artist. I had my own business and I had my own business in music too. And I went to, they took me as a volunteer for the Ghost Army. You had to have an IQ of 130. They said the Ghost Army had the highest IQ in the whole Army. And they sent me to Camp Forest, Tennessee, where we formed the Ghost Army. It wasn't called that yet. It was called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. And we trained in all kinds of things there that they taught us how to deceive. Then we sent to Camp Kilmer in Jersey. They gave me a 3-night pass. I went to see my mother. I went back to Camp Kilmer. They sent us overseas to England. The night we landed in England, we were bombed by a buzz bomb, which was a nightly occurrence. The Germans sent buzz bombs every single night to England. They had watchers along the channel to spot these things. You could see them. And when they spotted them, they sent the message into the city. And you could hear the sirens all over the city. And whatever happened, everybody dropped what he was doing and ran for the shelters. Then we were going to go to France, so we had to waterproof all the vehicles. I landed on D-Day, and I was on a barge of some sort halfway across the channel. And when they told us, get off the beach, get inland as far as you can, or as far as you can, don't wait for anybody. So we never made the beach, but it was probably waist deep in water. So we had to go through the water to get to the beach. And then when they got to the beach, we went up this dirt road. There was a knocked out pillbox. It was a German minefield. And we couldn't see anything. It was so dark. But the sky, I don't know how to explain it. You have to be there. If you can imagine the 4th of July multiplied by 1,000 times. The shells, the artillery shells going overhead, you can hear it breaking through the wind. As long as you could hear them, it was okay. It's the ones that they didn't hear you had to watch out for. I landed in a ditch in our first night someplace. I don't know where it was, but I figured I don't have to dig a hole. So I laid in the big ditch, and there was all kinds of fire going on. There were small arms fire. There was 50 caliber guns going off, and you could see the traces going through the air. I don't know if you know what traces are. They're lit up like a fire. You could see them up in the air. And we got attacked by a German plane, and I think the 50 caliber got the plane. It crashed about half a block away from me. And the next morning, I got up, it was bright. There was a dead cow in front of me. And I got up and looked around. There were a bunch of bodies, American and German. And I could see the plane that was knocked down, the German plane. And I joined, I think it was the 1st Infantry. And I stayed with them through the hedgerow fighting. I was there with them maybe a couple of weeks. They sent word for us from the Ghost Army to go back someplace, and we got together. And then we hit Triviers was the first town which was quiet, and we headed south, and we hit Marie Saint-Église. There was a little bit of skirmish there. Then we went to Brest in southwestern France, southeastern France. And that's where that was a submarine base. And the Germans had that sewed up. So we moved in at night with a big battle, bad. But we got through. And then we headed north to St. Lo. St. Lo, the Germans had that sewed up. We was held up there for a while. And we finally broke through. And one of the Americans' outfit broke into a liquor warehouse, a wine warehouse. And they sent word to all the boys, send a truck to get some stuff for your boys. I ended up with 2 bottles of wine. Everybody had 2 bottles of something. Because they had wine, they had Calvados, Mirabelle, and Poire. There was the French liquors. But I gave my wine to my buddies because I didn't drink. It's like our supplies of cigarettes. I didn't smoke. I gave it to my buddies. And when we broke through at St. Lo, they called that the cognac ride through France. And the Germans were retreating so fast we couldn't keep up with them. But it was a ball because the French started coming out of their hiding places. And then there was holding 2 fingers up with a bottle of something, saying, "Vive les Américains." And the girls were all kissing the American soldiers. We loved that. So then we got so far as the Meurthe Moselle, and the whole army ran out of fuel. So we were like sitting ducks. We had guns, of course, but we couldn't move. So we got clobbered. So finally, the Red Bull Express, these were big trailer trucks that came up. They finally caught up with us and brought us extra guns and extra fuel, extra ammunition, and food and clothing. And then we moved up and we started to go into Luxembourg. We went into Luxembourg and we stayed at this big building. I think it's a school right now. But this big building was right in Luxembourg. And we were there for, I forget, I don't know how long we were there for quite a while. And then the Germans counterattacked. They surprised us. And the word came down to everybody get out. Head for Briey, France. Don't wait for anybody. As soon as you're ready, take off. So we were going like crazy. And there was ice and snow on the roads. I was with three more buddies in a weapons carrier. And we skidded off the road and hit a pole, a tree. So we were stuck. And but they missed us. So they sent a truck back to get us, and they got us out. And then we headed back. We were in Briey, France, in what they called a caserne. It was just like an army camp. And the day after that, of course, when guys were on the line for a while, they want to know, where's the girls? Where's the wine, women, and song? So there was a dance in a nearby town about 3 miles away. And that's where I met my wife the next day. But then we pulled out and went to Luxembourg again. And from Luxembourg, we headed north again, and a place in Belgium called Malmedy. The Germans captured 200 American soldiers, and they shot them down with a machine gun. 4 guys fell down fast and laid under the dead guys until the Germans left. That's how we knew what the story happened. And
Why don't you tell them a quick little story, because they have to wrap it up, they have other things.
oh, okay, well,
Maybe you can get to, like, just quickly tell them a quick story about, tell us about how you used to go into towns and send the fake communications out and run like hell.
oh, what we did is, what you saw on the movie. The one guy with Gil Seltzer, he died at 106. And I knew another couple, but they died close to 100. And I was a radio man, and they set us up on the line in nets, maybe 4 or 6 nets, 4 or 6 radios. And they supplied us with, we had to study the German fist, how they sent. And we sent false messages that they gave us to send. The officers gave us certain messages that we had to send to sound like the Germans. If you're a radio man, if you sent a message, you had about 2 or 3 minutes to get out of there, because they would triangulate on you and knock you out. So you move a quarter mile away at least. I didn't have anything to do with the tanks that they blew up, inflated. But we had tanks. They inflated, trucks they inflated, guns they inflated, men they inflated. We also had real stuff. We also had our own guns. And I'd been in the infantry, so I learned how to handle the M1 rifle. And they learned to teach us how to shoot. By the way, I was a green kid when I first went in. And every morning at 5 o'clock, they got us up to do calisthenics. I was exhausted. in 3 months, they put me in shape. And they taught us how to fight with the rifle, and everything's walk fast, run fast, and learn how to shoot right and all that stuff. Yeah?
You can tell, my dad could probably spend a month telling his stories to all of you, because he's so proud of his time in the military, and more importantly, his buddies. His, today, well,
I'm just so sorry that all my buddies are not here tonight. I mean, this is a celebration for all my buddies who deserve more credit than I get. And they all do. I stayed in touch with a lot of my buddies after the war. I went to college on the GI Bill. I studied advertising, art, design, architecture. I became an architect and worked with a lot of architects, but I became a builder too and supervised buildings. I don't know, if you go to Smithtown, Toyota, I built maybe...
Yeah, one last thing. He was a hypnotist also.
you see, they're walking up, we're all being
Well, we would, Nick, if you'd like, we would really love a picture with you in the ROTC, because a lot of the ROTC members came down just to honor. Oh, you did? You took one? Okay, terrific. Well, we'd love also, the Board of Education would love to take a picture with you and your kids.
Sure, of course.
Thank you very much. So, how did you bring Nick to here? Or, if we bring Nick here and the family, and then we'll bring everybody around?
Oh, we could go around. Or we could go behind him.
Yeah, we could just... Yep, we also have a gift for you. I like if you want. If you're comfortable with that, man? No, that's actually great. You need that hat. Hang on, ROTC, guys, hang on. You guys, we're gonna pull you up in a moment.
Falcons on 3.
All right, ready?
Still teaching.
No, on 3, we gotta say go star. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Go Army!
Next, we have one more thing that we kept waiting until everything was done. So where is David? David, if you would, please lead as a thank you for service and dedication for the greatest generation. So.
Hey! and hut. Who are we? Fighting back is back to go. Hoorah! Where? Brentwood! Where? Brentwood! Where? Brentwood! Fight time! March! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can hear you. Hey! Something loud enough. Hey! That's much better. Hey! All together now. You! Take me! Hey! Take me! Hey! Take me! Hey! Take me! USA! United States Air Force! Flying here, we love it here, we finally find a hope. A what? A hope! A what? A hope! A what? A hope away from home. Brentwood! Fighting conquer! Brentwood! Fighting conquer! Brentwood! Fighting conquer! Whoa! Whoa! Black hole! Can I get a hoorah? Hoorah! 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 Ah!
Okay. Is it red velvet? Mm-hmm. I just did take back in. Stacy's red velvet.
So I believe that Mr. Leo is leaving the building. I want to just say that someone just mentioned the greatest generation, and there's a reason why those men and women were called the greatest generation. I mean, I just, the inspiration that I get from just meeting and hearing some of his stories is just amazing. I believe that everyone in this country owes a huge debt of gratitude to all veterans for the service that they provide this country. But my God, especially to you, Mr. Leo, your buddies, right? And everyone in that generation is just incredibly, incredibly special to all of us. So I want to just ask if we can just big round of applause as Mr. Leo is leaving the building. Please, standing ovation. Oh, God.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So there was some confusion in terms of where the forms for questions and comments to the Board of Education were. I guess they were not available.
Yes, they were.
Well, they weren't available in the beginning of the meeting?
They were.
Oh, okay, so maybe they were,
They were right there.
okay,
They were always right here.
okay. So we are going to questions on agenda items now. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we're not. We're going to go to student liaisons.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Student liaisons, Ms. Priscilla De Jesus and Mauricio Diaz. Can you please?
Okay. Okay. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Mauricio Diaz.
And
My name is Priscilla De Jesus.
And we are here tonight on behalf of the student body to present our findings for the month of April.
Sorry. Last month, on December 31st, we were given the opportunity to host another town hall. Students from all grades were invited to present any questions or concerns regarding Brentwood High School. Among those raised concerns were many regarding the food in our main cafeterias. Fortunately, our Red Dot lunch program saw significant improvement after many students raised concerns earlier this year. However, students that receive lunch in the cafeteria have made note of steadily declining quality. Many students receive lunch that has gone bad before the expiration date, unreasonably small portions, or food that is simply unappealing. This leads to not only increased waste, but hungry students. The student body has 2 requests that we would like to propose.
We have heard that schools in our surrounding area often perform menu choice taste tests to broaden the choices made available to students and decrease the amount of food that goes unconsumed. If at all possible, we would like to see a similar approach implemented into our schools to give students a voice in the food they eat and improve the conditions of our cafeterias. We also find it extremely important to see halal options in our cafeterias year-round. Many of our students find it extremely difficult and on many days impossible to find food they can eat. Students should always have access to good food regardless of their dietary, religious, or other restrictions, and we hope our requests are considered and implemented into our schools.
Prior to our town hall, other student officers and ourselves were invited to a dress code committee meeting. We were shown a draft of the rewritten dress code and had the opportunity to ask questions or request any reframing of the updated dress code. Those of us in attendance were generally very pleased with the changes made to the document. The code clearly states the values behind its fabrication and it's reflective of today's times. The language is significantly better and the document itself is thorough while remaining relatively condensed. As we await final committee approval, we are glad that student concerns were not only heard but addressed, and that we were invited throughout the rewriting process. The dress code was one of the items on our agenda at our last town hall, and we are happy to announce that we will be hosting another on Friday, April 29th after school in the Sonderling Auditorium.
Today, the high school welcomed NISMA state judges back to our Sonderling stage to evaluate several ensembles throughout the district for the first time since 2019. This experience, though nerve-wracking, is always an extremely exciting and fulfilling experience for the young musicians throughout Brentwood. The NISMA Solos Festival will also make its grand return later this year on June 2nd. For many of our seniors, like myself, this was or will be our last time preparing to partake in these statewide festivals. We would like to thank our director and educators of Performing and Fine Arts for their continued efforts in creating memories and developing skills that will last a lifetime.
As the school year approaches its end and the weather starts to warm up, we are excited that many of our typical end-of-year events are making their return. For one, we are happy that Fridays in the Park are being introduced. Serving as a non-alcoholic happy hour, students will be invited to one of our many courtyards to hang out, perform and listen to music, and generally indulge in what's left of our school year. These events will be held after school from 2 to 5, and students of all high school grades will be invited to take part in the fun.
We are also excited to hear from Mr. Callan that 2 proposals throughout our experience in the pandemic will remain as tradition. Mr. Callan delightfully informed us that all graduates will once again receive a sign from the district to display on our lawns. These signs were first distributed 2 summers ago to commemorate the class of 2020, as their senior year was the most heavily and dramatically impacted by the pandemic. We are also excited that another field day will be held this school year on Wednesday, June 1st, 2 days before our annual senior prom, which is also making its complete return.
Brentwood has seen so many changes throughout the past 2 years, and we proved time and time again that the Brentwood spirit will always live on. As always, it is a pleasure to come speak on behalf of the student body. We would like to thank the Board of Education, Mr. Callan, and our student council for allowing us to speak, and we hope you all have a wonderful night and indulge in the nice weather in our upcoming spring break. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
We're not finished yet.
Is there anything to say or good?
Oh, no, I just, thank you. I wasn't sure if you were having a sidebar because it was something that was missed. I just, it's always such a pleasure to see our students come up, especially you two. You're so well-spoken, articulate. It's, everything that you're reading is well thought of. It's inclusive. And I just want to say that, it's on behalf of the board, and I'm sure Central and all of your teachers, it's such a pleasure to have you here. To the point that you were making in terms of the food is absolutely a work in progress. Everything that you mentioned in terms of what you would like to see is the same thing that the Board of Education and Central administrators would like to see. There were some issues in terms of inventory, in terms of finding the inventory that we needed this year because of the pandemic and because of the shortfalls. But just know that we are absolutely committed to increasing the quality, changing the menu. You mentioned halal, absolutely, and I just wanted to just say that. So thank you very much.
We should also
Mr.
mention.
Lochner.
No, we should also mention that one of our upcoming projects, it might not help the seniors unfortunately, but we are committed to redoing all of our cafeterias, updating them aesthetically, also, making the lines much more easy to progress through. So we're giving an update to all of the cafeterias from elementary, middle school, and the high school. So when you come back next year or the year after to visit, you will see really, I hope, beautiful cafeterias.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Now we'll go to questions from on the agenda items. Ms. Oyola, it is D1H, and the question.
D1B.
D1B. Okay.
Yeah, you said H.
And the question is the district going to create a policy which will state that any employee that has been terminated can apply for a position and be rehired? What is the time frame for a terminated employee that can apply? Ms. Oyola, I don't think that we have ever mentioned anything like that. This is all new to me. I don't.
Well, then why are we doing it?
Yeah, so.
You're doing it. In your D1B, someone was terminated, and now they're being rehired. So I figured you're creating a policy. I'd like to tell all my members.
Yeah, and so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid the back and forth, right? So I am going to respectfully answer that, and that is that I think that each one of these hires is made on a case-by-case basis. I know that Mr. Lochner brings to this board on a regular basis certain circumstances, certain issues. He's very forthcoming, as well as, his administrators who are making these recommendations. And I want to say that it is exactly that. It's done on a case-by-case basis. And Mr. Lochner, if there's anything that you can add.
Yeah, no, it's not, obviously it's not a frequent occurrence, Carmen. In this particular case, I don't know whether we're not going to obviously identify the employee. But I will tell you that this particular employee, there was a reason for the termination a number of years ago. We did speak about that. I've met with the administrators who are currently supervising her. She came back on a trial basis, has been with us as a substitute.
For a month.
For a period of time.
For a month.
Okay, I was actually under the impression a little bit longer than that.
No, sir.
Has, performed adequately, has performed, according to the administrator in charge, has done extremely well, and is now getting a position with us full-time. So it's not a common occurrence, but I will tell you this, I do believe in redemption. I do believe that some people, in certain circumstances, do deserve a second chance. This particular situation, that's what we're doing.
Well, like I said, I'd like some kind of guidelines, because being the president of a unit with 520 members, yeah, this is not going to just happen once. So this way I can inform the member or the person that wishes to reapply properly.
Right. I mean, without getting too specific, that there are certainly certain reasons for termination, and some
Yeah, I have
serious.
it. I have a
No,
copy of
understand.
why it's
I
it's done.
understand. But serious, you can tell your unit that obviously if they're terminated or asked to leave for an extremely serious reason that would put students in danger, for instance, themselves in danger, substance abuse or something along those lines, then no, the likelihood of getting rehired is really nil. However, there are certain circumstances that, you know, on a case-by-case basis, we may look at, see the maturation of the person, the growth of the person, and quite possibly, you know, offer them a second chance.
Thank you, Ms. Lochner.
Well, the only other thing to that is, and this is just a rhetorical, you know, just general question out there. So in other words, if someone was arrested, what would their chances be of being hired?
That's really, really difficult too. So I'd rather.
It's on a base-to-base, like you just said.
Absolutely.
And he said, due to the seriousness. Is being arrested serious, yes or no? That's all.
Well, and the thing about it is that, you know, there are so many things that come with that question. So I'd rather not answer that question here. Because,
it's just a yes or no.
Well, there's a lot of details in that. So I just want to say, Ms. Lochner, you have always been forthcoming to this board in terms of the rationale behind it, behind all of the recommendations.
Right.
We were made aware of this, we spoke about this, and it was a decision to move forward. So thank you for bringing that up. So we are going to go to consent agenda. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, B1A through B1M. Could I have a motion, please?
Right.
Yes, we're going to do that, yep. B1A through B1M. Could I have a motion, please? Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. There is going to be a change to B2H, page 4. We are going to change the name on B2H, authorization to use Home Depot card, item number 2, should read Randy Smith instead of Randy Johnson as stock clerk. So could I have a motion to amend from Randy Johnson to Randy Smith on item B2H?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Holder Daniel. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Burgos. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We're going to go back to the consent agenda, B2A through B2Z with item B2H amended. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, C1A and C1B. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We're going to the D items. D1A, appointments, resignations, and leaves of certificated personnel as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Your look, by the way, Holder Daniel told me I was wrong. You know that. You were like, hold on just a minute. I didn't say anything. All right. Thank you. D1B, we are going to amend item number 27. So item number 27, Oswald Lubin should have a date changed from 9/23/22 to 9/23/21. So could I have a motion to change item 27 on D1B from 9/23/22 or September 23rd, 2022 to September 23rd, 2021? Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Holder Daniel. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Burgos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? So moved. So now we're going to go back to D1B as amended. Could I have a motion to accept appointments, resignations, and leaves of non-certificated personnel as proposed on the agenda and as amended. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Actually, opposed? Abstentions? I will abstain. D1C. D1C, additional communication aids. I will read this. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby creates an additional 15 positions of school communications aid effective April 13th, 2022, and be it further resolved that the newly created positions shall be 12-month full-time positions which shall be accreted to the Brentwood Clerical Association, and be it further resolved that effective April 13th, 2022, the table of organizations shall be amended to reflect the additional school communication aids shall report to the Network and Systems Coordinator. Could I have a motion on D1C?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second? Second by...
Can I have a discussion? Can you explain that to the community? Exactly what it means?
So we have a second from trustee Burgos. We're going to discussion. Mr. Lotion, if you could take a minute and just explain what the responsibilities are for this?
Sure. The school communications aid, we intend on putting one school communication aid person, staff member, into every single school. That's 18. We'll have one for Ross, one for Sondling. They are in the Clerical Association, and their job duties entail, this is not every one of them, but this is just some of the job duties that it will entail, and that is the taking care of the level 1 problems surrounding some of our technology. So the laptops, for example. As you know, we give out laptops to all of our students as well as our staff member. With that comes a host of problems on a daily basis, or concerns that you must address. The technology department has to address those concerns. So the school communication aid will be responsible for if there is an issue with a student or a parent and they can't log on to the computer. The school communication aid will give assistance. They will help with passwords. They'll help with logons. It might be, if there's an issue with a laptop, it might just be a simple rebooting the laptop and solving the problem that way. So they're going to take care of all of those level 1 interventions when it comes to equipment. They'll also be in charge of handing out laptops to students. They'll be in charge of the distribution of laptops. They'll also be in charge of the collection of laptops. If a student has a broken laptop, which happens obviously fairly frequently, right now we don't have a terrific system in place, but the school communication aid will be responsible for taking that laptop, if it is broken and it can't be fixed. They will take that laptop and immediately issue a new laptop to that student, so there's no interruption for that student. That's one of the concerns, obviously, that we've had in the last 2 years, because we're just getting up to speed in terms of the distribution of these laptops. You have to understand that we have introduced into this school community a tremendous amount of technology over the last 2 years. And with that comes a responsibility to make sure that they're running efficiently. We're helping people with problems on a daily basis so they don't persist. So these school communication aids will work with parents, students, and staff members on these level 1 difficulties with technology. They'll also help, obviously, we have quite a few printers and copiers in the schools. So they'll also help with the putting in the toner, changing the paper. If they could fix, again, any type of problem with a copier or printer that doesn't require it to be sent out, they'll be trained, they're being trained on how to fix, again, problems that can be fixed on site. So we hope, and there's obviously lots of other duties that will be in there, but those are some of the highlights. And I think it's really a good move by the district because, like I said, we've introduced a tremendous amount of technology into the district, and you really have to make sure that everybody, that everything is moving along as smoothly as possible, because it really does create frustrations and bottlenecks when laptops are not fixed right away. They'll also be helping, I should mention another serious problem we have, and that is with the cords and the charging units. They'll also help with the distribution of those and hopefully, manage those problems too as they come up. So I think it's a good move. Every building will have one on site, so you're not waiting for a technician to come from another building or from another area of the district. So we really hope that this helps the operation of the school district around technology.
I just want to say, they're civil service positions, right?
They are civil service positions,
So if
that's right.
somebody's listening and thinks that that might be the job for them, they should
Absolutely.
inquire with civil service?
They absolutely can. Now, competitive, not competitive? I'm just lost.
It is competitive,
It is
so
competitive.
we canvass the list, but if we don't get enough people from the list, it can be hired provisionally, which means that they can get the job without taking the test, but when the test comes out, they would have to take it.
Do you know when the next test will be?
There's a list right now, we're hiring quite a few, so I don't know if we're gonna get everybody from the list, so it might be a little while yet before a new test comes out, but we can get people up and running, working for us.
So if they're interested, they can contact
Yes.
Human Resources?
I encourage them to, yep.
Definitely.
Ms. Lotion, I just think that this is, again, a great idea. And, unfortunately, we did have to take all of this on an emergency basis, knowing that there were some gaps. And what we're doing right now is backfilling.
Right.
And addressing all of those.
Well, I don't want to take credit. Actually, Candace, who was in charge of IT, and I'm sure Russ and Stacy, the leadership of the IT team, they really came up. They actually thought.
Well, that's why I think we need the community to know what we're spending, all these hirees, and they should know, what we're using everybody for.
No, I think it's a great question, Cindy.
I think we
do
really need
appreciate
to
it.
start explaining,
Right.
where all our money's going.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, I think it's. We're really glad you asked that question.
So, with that being said, we do have a first and a second. Can we put this resolution up for vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1D, recommended budget for 2022 and 2023 school year. We are going to have to make some amendments to this resolution. So I'm going to ask that you amend as follows. So it would read now, be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves and adopts the proposed budget, the proposed 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $503,374,071 with a tax levy of $111,568,807, which does not exceed the statutory tax levy cap. And be it further resolved that the district clerk is directed to include the adopted budget amount in the legal notice and in a proposition for the annual election and budget vote to be held on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. Council, am I correct in terms of my language? Yes. We've got a green light. So I have a motion to amend. Could I please have a motion to amend?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor to amend? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. So now on D1D, recommended budget for 2022-2023 school year as amended. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Ms. O'Connor, if we could just take another moment and go over what the tax levy represents. I know that there was some question. We did go over it at the last budget workshop. This $111 million, or 111.5, represents a 0 tax levy increase. Can you go into that and what that means, and how is it that our school taxes might actually increase even though the school district is proposing a 0% tax levy increase?
Absolutely. Just to confirm, that exact amount, the $111,568,807, is the exact levy that we have for this current school year. So it's staying exactly the same for the following school year. The levy is the amount of money that the school district asks the town to collect on its behalf to support the educational program. There are other components that go into what's your actual tax rate that we don't have right now. It's information that we get from the town, and we won't get that till like August. So there is a chance that taxes could go up, they could go down, based on that other information that we'll get from the town later in the year. But what the school district is asking for is exactly the same. And this is actually the third year in a row that we're asking for $111 million from the town. So the levy and the tax rate, although they're related, they're not quite the same. They're different, and one can stay the same and one can change.
So is it fair to say that if the school district were to increase the tax levy and the tax rate increased as well, it would be a compounded increase for the taxpayer? We would have a levy increase and a rate increase. It would have been much more than what community members experienced last year. The reason why I'm saying is that I do know that in the Brentwood School District, although we kept a 0% tax levy increase, school tax for homeowners, for most homeowners, went up. Had we increased the tax levy, that would have been compounded to what the increase would have already been.
We can confidently say that now because we can look back and we have all of the information.
Yep.
So yes, had we, let's say, increased the tax levy by 1%, taxes would have gone up 1% more than what they actually did go up, school tax,
Yep.
for the residents. It's hard to say that for the following school year because we don't have all of the information in right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I also wanted to explain, or maybe if we could just take a moment, explain how it is that we were able to do this. And just in one simple statement, it's because of all of this additional funding that we're getting, we're able to expand services, do all this capital improvement without passing the cost along to the taxpayer. Is that?
Absolutely. Thanks to what we've gone through in the past with the foundation aid and how we're finally, that's flowing in now. It's being phased in over 3 years. Next year, this is the first year, 21-22. It's going to phase in over the next 2 years, and that increase is allowing us to really expand not only our programs in the school district, construction projects. We mentioned earlier about the cafeterias being improved. We have some other improvements that we're planning with the successful passage of this budget, security improvements, science lab improvements, and that is all again with the levy remaining at $111.5 million, the exact same number, and we will be able to get all of that done, thanks to the increased foundation aid.
Great, great. And I just want to put this out there because it's something that we had talked about last year, that if with this foundation aid continues to come in, we still have another year, next year, where there's still an additional gap that needs to be made up into the tens of millions of dollars like the last 2 years. I just want to say that, that as a district, personally, I'm saying that if that money comes in, there's a really, really good likelihood, and I'm going to commit to myself personally, that we're going to try to do this again. We're going to keep a zero next year. If we get another anywhere between 40 and 56, which is what $40 and $56 million, which is what we've gotten the last 2 years, respectively, I couldn't imagine passing any additional cost to the taxpayer. So, we were pleasantly surprised to see it the second year, this year, shocked to see it the first year, but there's a really good likelihood that we are going to get it this third year. And, And what a wonderful thing for this community. Ms. O'Connor, I've said this before, I think that you are absolutely one of Brentwood's best kept secrets. Your stewardship, your guidance, your steady hand during really, really difficult times has served us very, very well. And I hope at this point, all of that stress that you had during all those years, Mr. Lochner, you know, I'm sure that you can attest to it. I hope that you are relieved, somewhat relieved of that. So thank you so much on behalf of the entire board and the community. Mr. Lochner, if there's anything you want to add to that?
No, you're right. Stacy has been tremendous. She really is an outstanding business, steward, and she's actually, just a terrific friend and as well. She really is, and she's done outstanding work for us here in Brentwood, and will continue to do it for lots of years. But she really does know her stuff too. She's, in school business official organizations. She's on boards. She goes to different meetings and she presents. She's really just a well-rounded person, and really just loves Brentwood and has really poured her heart and soul into making sure that we are solvent every single year. And I think that everything that you said about us in the future is true. The future is looking pretty good. I think they already have committed to next year. It's actually in law, so we should kind of expect that we do get the same type of bump next year in terms of foundation aid. But yeah, it is great, and it is 3 years in a row that we've asked for $111 million, a little bit more, from the community, and that's pretty outstanding to be able to hold that. And I think I agree with you, Robert, that next year will probably be the same.
All right, so thank you so much. We are going to go to E1A, student enrollment figures as proposed on the agenda. F1F, miscellaneous items, it's just for information only. Old and new business. Mr. Lochner, I was wondering if we could just take a moment. I know that we mentioned at the last business meeting this concept of possibly moving the freshman center towards a sixth grade center and moving the ninth graders back into the middle schools. It would be a transition for the community. I just, again, as trying to be as open and transparent as possible, I just want to let the community know that these ideas and these questions are being asked by Mr. Lochner to district administrators, central administrative members. So that is still something that's still being considered. There are a tremendous amount of positives that I don't know if this is the actual form to do it, but I just wanted to briefly inform the community that those conversations are happening. Mr. Lochner is going to, and we were talking about this earlier, Mr. Lochner is going to be meeting with different community and parent organizations to try to get the feedback. And at some point, a much more detailed presentation will be made. Mr. Lochner and his team are still gathering some of the facts and some of the pros and cons. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And input by other school community members also.
Yes.
Teachers and administrators.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Lochner, was that a fair assessment?
It is, yeah. It's really in its infancy right now. It's something that we've only been speaking about for a short amount of time. I do look forward to meeting with different community members. Obviously, people here in the district, we have the teachers unit, the administrative unit, all of the units really have to participate. But most importantly, we would like to have an opportunity to really go through whether we can pull it off, what the time frame is, if we can pull it off for next year, if we have to wait a year, all of these things that we have to take a look at. I do think it is an idea worth pursuing for the district. It is something, it is the reason we're talking about it. I can speak about it at a later date. Right now, I do think, however, it will increase our graduation rate. We have a lot of thoughts behind that. I do think if it did go to a sixth grade center, that I think that could be just a wonderful opportunity for us to work with sixth grade students in isolation. I think that would be a wonderful year for them. And I do think that the junior high concept here in Brentwood may be the best way for kids to travel through the junior highs and be successful in the high school. Without saying too much more, but I'm looking forward to really just exploring, and hearing what other people have to say. Obviously, there's lots of different opinions, different insights, different thoughts, and, hopefully by lots of discussions over the next few weeks and few months, we can, as a community, see if it is something that we should move forward with.
So, Mr. Listener, I am going to now turn this over to you because I do believe that you have other content.
I do. I have some obviously special happenings. This is really just a few because there's just, as I say every month, there's just so much going on. But number one, we have Wellness on Wheels, a mobile program from Cohen's Children Medical Center is bringing nutrition education to our children in grades 1 and 2. They are learning the skills needed to eat right, grow strong, and stay active while having fun. All children engage in hands-on planting activities, receive a green bean potted plant, parent letter, and seeds to continue to grow their own food at home. It really is just a wonderful organization, the Wellness on Wheels. You may see them parked in front of elementary schools. An evening of the arts was held tonight. It actually occurred this evening, right, Angel? We had a concert over at Southeast. All third grade students participated in a Hawaiian adventure written and directed by Miss Byrne, the music teacher, an outstanding music teacher, and Miss Foote, also an outstanding art teacher, showcased our talented students' artwork in the lobby before and after the performances. MBK joined forces with the kindergarten principals and teachers at East Kindergarten Center in Pine Park for a spring celebration these past 2 Saturdays. There was music and dance, relay races, sidewalk chalk, and arts and crafts. The weather was beautiful, and all children left with books donated by the book fairies. College acceptances are coming in with commitments to Columbia, Yale, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, just to name a few. A full list will be available shortly and a video that highlights our students' accomplishment. Also, many parents new to the college scene attended the high school on April 6th to learn about the New York State graduation requirements. It was a packed house with presentations in both English and Spanish. We have 12 11th grade students going to Stony Brook this summer to participate in a 3-week Academy of Civic Life. The program is designed to give students real college experiences living on campus and attending rigorous seminars with university professors. This month, our native language art teachers at the high school celebrated a day of the book. They conducted a Spanish read aloud throughout the day. Classes paired up and celebrated and presented together. Some stations included book bingo, blind date with a book, cutout poetry, and a photo booth. All students left with book prizes, and many left with raffle prizes as well. The National Honor Society and Kitty Hawk induction ceremony will be held tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 in the Ross Auditorium. After the spring recess, all secondary student report cards will be available on the parent portal. Send an email to parentportal@bufsd.org for help with accessing your child's grades. 6 ensembles participated in the NYSMA Major Organization Festival. We received at that festival 1 gold with distinction, 3 silver awards, and the high school. I'm sorry, I'm really having some difficulty with this one, but it looks like even the high school, the middle school, West Middle School, and North Middle School all received recognitions. That's, like I said, just a few of the many, many things that are occurring on a daily basis here in Brentwood.
We also have UPK registration.
Okay, we have our UPK registration. Thank you, Maria. What are the, is it already, it's already open. Yeah, it's already open, so please, UPK, go to our website and they'll walk you through the registration process. We also have, I want to just say, our spring sports are are going strong. We have so many new, we're actually having just a terrific year. I do want to say that we introduced a new varsity sport at the high school. We probably have about 35, 40 kids. Oh, actually, we have their coach right here, Miss Di Maria. We have, and Mr. Crespo. We can give them a hand. We have a brand new team. I tell you what, I love going over to see them play. We have a new badminton team. And that goes along with our new bowling team. So this year we introduced 2 new sports to the high school, which means many, many, many more. Great job, Andrea. And I do anticipate us building that program and being successful as the years progress. And, right, we already have, right. We do have, I should mention too, we do have Saturday academies that are taking place. They're not meeting for the next 2 weeks, right, Miss? The 2 weeks off, and then we resume after that. I should warn the community, and I warn might not be the right word, but we have lots and lots and lots of summer programs coming up. And I'm talking for every single grade, for entering UPK, kindergarten, straight through the high school. We had kindergarten, straight through the high school. We have summer camps, summer programs for all different learners, all different types of learners. So stay tuned. We actually are putting together a trifold pamphlet that we will send out to the community so you can take a look through the pamphlet and choose what best meets your son's or daughter's needs. And I really encourage parents to get their kids involved this summer. As I said, there'll be lots and lots of programs. And we also still have our swim programming that's going on Thursdays. We have an open family swim night on Thursdays. Unfortunately, we usually have meetings then, so we can't make it. But, and then we also have Saturday swim lessons taking place, so a great many things. And if you have an opportunity, go out and see the spring sports. Like I said, the softball is going on, baseball, we have track, and we have badminton, obviously, as I mentioned, and lacrosse.
So, Mr. Lishner, if I can just jump in here, I had mentioned when I drove in for our 5 o'clock meeting, I usually get here early. It was incredible to see every one of our fields, all the facilities being used. It was just a sea of joy. We had people students on the tennis courts. We had the softball game. We had the track meet. We had the girls' soccer, I believe, on this side. And I'm going to just preempt what I believe is going to be a question that may come out of this audience, because I do believe I see our 2 most vocal golfing advocates here, Mr. Fritz, and Mr. Hudson is actually the golf coach. I did see from afar Mr. Hudson with his students. I'm not sure if it's an official team yet, but it was really, really, really nice to see. And the reason why I want to preempt this is because I do believe that we will have a golf team come the fall.
That is our goal. Obviously, Mr. Hudson has been working towards this for a number of years. He's really tremendous. He has kids coming from all over the district to the high school to take golf lessons. He's been teaching them for a number of years now. We do anticipate, very shortly starting the team. That has been, Ron's goal for a number of years. I will say this too, he's collected an enormous amount of golf clubs. I actually had an opportunity to see his storage facility. I had no idea that he has literally hundreds and hundreds, maybe a couple of thousand golf clubs that he has compiled from all over. I don't even know how he has wrangled these things out, but they have tons of equipment to use.
That's great, and I just want to, I might have to correct the record, because I do believe that Mr. Fritz has been advocating for the golf team for much longer than Mr. Hudson, and I just want to make that note, Mr. Fritz, you have been here for as long as I've been on the board asking about the golf team, and we do believe that it's happening come the fall. So, to the badminton coach, I want to see how it's rolling along. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for all of your efforts.
I just want to ask, do we have a schedule of all of these sports when they play? Is it on our calendar on the website? Because it would be great if people could have access to that.
Yeah, one of the things that we're working on, okay, so you should know, is we're putting together a calendar that's going to be on our website, even in much greater detail than it is now. What we tell people is we do have calendars, okay, for the sports, but really most people just go to Section 11. It is the organization that governs Suffolk sports. And one of the reasons being because the games change quite frequently, particularly in the spring. So that's when if you're really interested in what to look at, go to section11.org, and that will give you, and you just click on Brentwood, and it actually tells you, it gives you the games that are being played that day, and it gives you the schedule.
Is there any way to update it on our website as well?
That's what we envision doing, is putting, what we realize is that there are just so many different organizations and activities and events that are going on that we'd like to put one person or, a couple of people in charge of really keeping track of that, all of the events. And the sports would be on those calendars as well. But remember, we do have middle school sports as well. A lot of times we don't mention that, but, the middle school sports are, in full swing as well. They are also, if you have an opportunity to get over, they're playing the same sports. They're playing baseball over there, softball in the different middle schools. The track actually comes up to the high school, the middle school track. So they're also in full swing. And they're also on the Section 11 website, which...
I think Trustee Burgos was a calendar that had everything, sports and non-sport events, concerts, the play,
Yeah,
really...
I think we do need some sort of a comprehensive calendar that people can look at and see if there's an art event, a concert, a sport, event, so that just the information will be available.
Yeah, great idea.
So maybe that's something we can work on. Maybe some of our new aides that we're hiring, maybe if we have
maybe each school feeding the information into the website.
I'm sure Candace Chang.
That's what Candace is working on that.
Yes.
It's an interactive calendar that multiple people, could access and put their events on. We do talk about this a lot, but then our head starts to spin because we are talking about 17 schools, events, concerts like Southeast this evening. We have just so many daytime events that are unique, afternoon, evening. So
I have a question. If it's interactive, could a school principal or designated personnel from a school have access to going in and making changes? If something comes up and they have to change a concert date or something. Is that something that could be done at the school level instead of having to go through all the different steps?
I think that's what Candace, is that what you're looking into, some type of...
It can be done, yes.
Right.
Can we look into that? Because that would be, I think, easier for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lochner. I am going to go to community comments. Ms. Oyola?
You want to read what I want? Or you want me to say it?
No, go ahead, good, you can say it.
Okay. We started the school in September, great. Members' hours were increased. 2 of the members were given 6.5. Next month, it was taken away. I was told that it's because of the Affordable Care Act, which means that a member of 6.5 hours is supposed to, quote unquote, be offered, not pay for, offered some kind of medical coverage. Well, this is April, and I have yet gotten a response to that, actually. What is it? Is that I looked in the Affordable Care Act, there's nothing there. The members that there are 2 or 3 that do have the 6.5 One of them got the 6.5 after the Affordable Care Act in 2018. Affordable Care Act came out in 2010, full force 2013. She got her 6.5 contractual hours 2018. What you can do for one, you need to do for all. Those 2 members that were given and taken back in September, I would like them on next month's agenda for the 6.5 contractual. On our contract, it says clearly, which is a nice blue book this year, this one, page 20. And if I may, it says it clearly. Any member of CSEA may elect at any time during the term of his or her employment with the Brentwood School District to participate in the then current health insurance / dental insurance plan designated by the district. The cost of such participation shall be borne solely by the member electing to participate in the plan. Therefore, there's no reason not to give these members the 6.5. We know very clearly that we have to pay the full price. And when the Affordable Care Act came out, I have to say, I received my letter because I am a 6-hour employee, and I declined because the amount of the monthly fee was more than one of my paychecks. So I couldn't afford it. So with that said, it wasn't so. The member got it in 2018, not prior, not before the Affordable Care Act. She got it after. So make those 2 members whole and give them back the 6.5 hours. I'm not asking for much. And again, you have not given me a concrete reason saying, no, the state said A, B, and C. From September to April. I think that's more than enough time.
I'm just listening, so thank you.
Well,
I don't think that that's something that I can answer. This is not going to be an exchange.
It's never an exchange, Robert.
Well,
That's beside the point.
Well, we are trying something a little different. We're
Yeah, I
listening.
know.
We are listening.
But you listened in September.
Yes.
And you've sat on it. I haven't gotten any answer as to why not, when 2 others have. And it wasn't prior to the Affordable Care Act.
Again, Ms. Oyola, thank you. This is something that we're going to take into consideration.
And the last thing, just to throw on, the communication aid, that was presented first to the CSEA unit. And what they wanted to pay the person there was the same price, the same salary as a TA, which was 16. And because CSEA said, no way, with all the requirements and demand that that person would have to fulfill, is $16 sufficient? So now you went to clerical, and they probably make 21 and 22. So instead of offering a CSEA unit member the $21 or $20, you took it to another unit. That's fine, but that's where that first was thrown at. And it was a 10-month, not 12.
Mr. Wilshire, I'm sure that we'll discuss part of the issues. This is an employment and contractual matter, not to be discussed here in public. Sure that we will follow up at some point. Thank you.
Yeah, next year I'll get an answer.
Mr. Thompson.
Hello, my name is Eric Thompson. I'm a member of the community. I've come here to voice my concerns regarding 2 issues that are being talked about in our community and must be brought to light. The first one I'm hearing is that when Mr. Loshner retires, the BTA president, Mr. Kevin Coyne, is looking to become the superintendent of the Brentwood School District. I believe this would be a terrible idea to entertain, and even worse decision to make. I consider it a conflict of interest that would not serve the students and taxpayers of our district. This may just be a talk of the town, but I thought it would be important to say. Secondly, I'm distributing packages to you that are containing factual information that can be verified. I promise that you're not being sued or served. One of the Board of Education's main responsibilities is to oversee the district finances, the money. The information on these packages relates to a person who has over $5 million in tax warrants. The warrants are based on a criminal investigation conducted by the Suffolk County Attorney's Office and the New York State Attorney General's Office regarding a fraudulent bottle redemption scheme. The reason why I'm so concerned is that the person named on these documents as president of the owned business, of the owned family business involved in this scheme is Mr. Charles Malve. Charles Malve is Maria Malve's husband. This is my opinion that if you cannot handle your own business and money, you are not qualified to handle the taxpayer's business and money. This may still just be the talk of the town, but
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Are you speaking about a district employee at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would ask for you to refrain from it. I think that what you're speaking about now is a potential criminal allegation. I personally don't know anything about this. I don't know if the board does, and I really don't want us to be responsible for sharing information.
I totally understand, but I found it out in
damaging
public.
Information that is not.
I found it out as public knowledge. So if it's public knowledge to me and the rest of the community, shouldn't it be public knowledge to you guys also, to the community that's here that didn't have the resources I have to find it out?
Thank you very much, and I'm going to take council's advice. Thank you very much for.
Can I distribute?
Can you give them to the
Yes,
clerk?
you could give them
Or to you?
to the clerk. Can you just give them to security? Or the clerk? Thank you very much. Mr. Fritz.
Joe Fritz, Brentwood resident. I'd like to thank the board for that presentation for the servicemen from Brentwood who belong to that particular aspect of World War II. In addition, I'd also like to thank the Miss Sinferi. Her son was on the Brentwood golf team, and I think she probably has a little bit of a leg up with regard to wanting to see this particular golf team succeed. In addition, before I go into my little speech, several of my golf clubs are in that list of clubs which Mr. Hudson has. When I was on the school board, I donated to the Brentwood golf team a set of Lee Trevino tour grinds, irons, which I used for several years. They may be still around, but they were an excellent set of clubs.
Yeah. Were they winning clubs, Mr. Fritz?
Well, I may have won a few bets with them.
All right.
As the school board knows, and the superintendent knows, the district is flush with funds to conduct business in the oncoming year. The wish list runneth over with funding to the district. In fact, last week's Newsday, they came up with a new set of funds where Brentwood was to receive several more millions of dollars last week's Newsday. And it was a considerable amount of funds, which when added to the foundation funding and other source of monies will in effect Brentwood has a unique opportunity. But I want to challenge the school superintendent to use a good portion of the monies to improve the graduation rate. To those who are not aware, our graduation rate is abysmal. Last year it was around 65%. And this was without the requirement of taking the regents. So it usually might be low, but it was even lower, and even though the regents weren't required at that time. Only 2 other school districts did worse. All other school districts, for the most part, noticed a bump up in their student graduation rate. We don't want excuses. Programs must be developed to rectify this problem. We do not need to have promises, we need to have results. The superintendent was given a contract renewal, and here is where the rubber meets the road. What legacy will the superintendent have? Right now, the legacy is a failing school district. I challenge the superintendent to find out what is wrong and what can be done to remedy it. We know the definition of insanity, doing the same things and expecting a different result. We need results. A school district that gets a bump in, a school district that succeeds in increasing the graduation rates gets a bump in home values. It also enhances the residents' self-esteem. Mr. Lochner, I don't expect miracles, but I think this school district can expect a bump in graduation rates. To know and not to do is not to know. To the school board members, look at the results of last year's graduation. This is your legacy too. With what resources we have, we should be able to right the wrongs. I do not expect it to occur in 1 year, but next year I do expect a sizable bump if steps are taken to change the system. Mr. Lochner remembers of the board prior to superintendents started to institute programs, prior superintendent institute programs to institute change and increase the graduation rate. Unfortunately, this occurred several years ago and the superintendent's contract was not renewed. I'm willing to serve on a committee with a group of members to see what can be done. We need outside help to see what programs need to be tweaked and bring in new solutions. Mr. Lochner, let's look at your future as your legacy. When the time comes to step aside, how will Brentwood schools look at the legacy of your tenure? Let's begin today. Tomorrow cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fritz. There was a lot there, and I know that I know how much you love this community, Mr. Fritz, and I know that all of that is absolutely well-intentioned. At one of our budget presentations, I believe that it was the budget presentation made by secondary Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Ortiz, we went over the graduation rate in detail. As a matter of fact, you could actually, because these are filmed, you could actually go back to that presentation, and there was a tremendous amount of time that was spent on the graduation rate and how it is that, you know, it is as low as you say in the district. Without going into all of the detail, I do believe that we are doing a great work. I do believe that we are doing a tremendous amount of good with our students. We are serving the population that's coming into this community very well. And if I could summarize where I think that you can find that proof is not necessarily the four-year cohort graduation rate. I think that in our defense, in this district's defense, in Mr. Lochner's defense, not that he needs any, you know, with regard to his legacy, we have done wonderful things. And I think that where you can find that proof that you're looking for in terms of graduation rate is in the 5- and 6-year cohort. The graduation rate in Brentwood, I believe, is made up when you calculate those students who graduate in the 5- and 6-year cohorts. That's something that never makes the paper. That correction, that detail, that evidence that you're looking for in terms of what it is that Brentwood is doing is never something that, you know, that the news outlets come back and correct. They will put out what the graduation rate is for Brentwood on a 4-year cohort, but they won't go back and say, hey, listen, 5- and 6-year, this is what we were able to do. So, yes, can we make improvements? Absolutely. There isn't anything that's perfect. One of the things that we are doing is looking at, you know, how we can improve the graduation rate. To Mr. Lochner's credit, he mentioned it. changing the dynamic over at the freshman center, and making that exchange between the sixth graders and ninth graders. There is sincere thought that that is going to contribute towards increasing the graduation rate. So without, again, having this extended for too long, I would encourage you to go to the presentation that Ms. Ortiz made. I don't remember that date. Ms. Ortiz, do you remember that? When you presented?
I think it was March 7th.
Yes, it was in March.
Beginning of March.
The March 7th?
7th, I believe.
The March 7th board workshop, and Ms. Ortiz was making that presentation. She had a very, very detailed slide presentation in terms of what it is that the district is working with, how it's being addressed, and exactly that conversation about the cohorts, the 4, 5, and 6-year cohorts. So please, I would absolutely encourage you to do that. Mr. Lochner, if there's anything that you want to add?
No. I mean, I disagree with the numbers, Joe. That number, I never have seen that number in terms of our graduation rate. That percentage, I've never seen it. So I'd like to see exactly what you're referencing. It is higher than what you referenced, but it is something that I take seriously, and I certainly, welcome the criticism. It is something I always take a look at and want to improve desperately, and we do try different things. It is not the same old thing every single year. It's not what we're about. We're always trying to bring in new programs to enhance our academics, and we're committed to raising that rate. And one of the ways is, Mr. Feliciano mentioned, it would be possibly, making us a return to junior highs, which I think might benefit ninth graders in the long run. So we're looking at lots of different avenues. We don't sit on our, we don't say that we're fine and we're just going to continue doing the same things. It's actually not what we're doing at all. Year in and year out, we try new things. But I would say I'd have to take a look at where you saw that number from, because, I thought that was much lower than what I believe to be the actual number.
Yeah, and I completely didn't hear the number, so, Ms. Lochner, yes, so if I led anyone to believe that that was the number that I agreed with, I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
I'm going to stand by Mr. Lochner and what he believes is happening. So I don't remember what number it is, but we don't.
Yeah, it's was much higher than that, right, Ms. Ortiz? Yeah. Right. No one looks at the June graduation. It's always the August is actually compiled with your June numbers.
I don't dispute that. The only thing I say is that other schools have a much higher amount of graduates in June, and whether it goes maybe higher by August. But what I'm merely saying is that when you have other schools in the town of Iceland have 85% graduation rates, and Brentwood in June, and that's in June of the year, June of last year, and Brentwood is considerably low, and it was well below 70. I got it from the news. So, it was the one which showed the particular aspect that I in fact Googled. I asked the school district to provide me with the information of graduation from 2000 to 2021. So it wasn't until I just made it up out of the air. I actually wanted to file a FOIL request to get the information.
Right.
Yeah, and without having this debate tonight, no, absolutely, and I know that you are coming from a good place. You mentioned comparison to other town of Islip school districts. There is another school district on Long Island that is what it is that has what it is that we're dealing with in terms of the number of SIFE students that are coming into the school that absolutely impacts our graduation rate tremendously is unheard of. I mean, even in school districts that have this, similar demographics, they may not have the same number of SIFE students. So again, I believe, it's just my opinion, that Mr. Lochner and his team and this district, they are doing the absolute best that they can with the circumstances. But is there room for improvement? Absolutely. Again, I encourage everyone to please look at that budget workshop, and there's a lot of answers that you can get there.
Can I just add, and Mr. Fritz, I always look forward to your comments because you always provide us with very well put together comments, and I appreciate them. I just do take exception to calling us a failing school. You know, I don't know, again, you know, not the back and forth, but I don't think that we fit that category. You know, it depends on what criteria you use to measure that, and we have multiple criteria that we use to measure our progress and the strength of our district, and we have many successes. So graduation rate alone is not the only measure, and I would just like to acknowledge that we do have a strong district despite our shortcomings, because we are not perfect and there is room for improvement, and we are working on it. So just to reiterate, you know, the same comment that was made by Mr. Feliciano and by Mr. Lochner, we are looking to do that. But to categorize us as failing, I think, harsh, you know, for a group like this, for this setting.
Thank you. Thank you, and very well said. Thank you very much. So with that being said, I don't have anything else. Could we have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez-Prescott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Have a wonderful night. Remember that we are closed on Friday, and next week, schools are closed. Have a safe and happy holiday and week off, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.